Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to episode 7 of the Peak Nutrition Podcast. I know I'm saying evening as if you're all going to be listening to the evening, so just whatever time of day it is, like the appropriate greeting, that'd be great. I am keeping up a really good record of recording every single podcast in a different location. As to say, I'm in like my family home where I grew up with my mum and dad. Who knows where I'll be next week, so it definitely worth tuning back in for that. Enough of the ramble. Today we are looking at ways that you can get yourselves out of a slump. Now, obviously, slump's quite a loose term, so I thought I'd best start by defining what I actually mean by a slump. So, for me, a slump is that period of really low motivation. You just can't be arsed with anything. It might look like ordering loads of takeaways, probably doing minimal cooking yourself, minimal food prep. You might drink more than normal, eat different foods. You're probably not exercising. And you're just generally being very inactive. You can't really gather any motivation to really get into your goals. Often you kind of know you're shooting yourself in the foot, but even with that knowledge, you just can't get any positive momentum. So that's what I mean by a slump. Next thing I thought about mentioning was probably what kind of things would trigger a slump. So a few things that I've thought of are like when you're sick, if you get injured, maybe after a holiday, a really busy spell with work, any personal stuff going on, and just generally being in a low mood. So I feel like any of those things can be a bit of a trigger to feel a bit sorry for yourself. And often these things do spiral, and then you make a series of negative choices and then actually feel worse. So it is that vicious cycle. So it can actually be really difficult to get out of. And it's something that's quite common when people approach me, that they actually feel pretty stuck, pretty disillusioned, and they feel like they've tried everything, but they just can't follow through with what they intended. So that's kind of where I come in. So it is something that I go through quite a lot with my clients. It is pretty specific to each situation, the way that I deal with things. So the strategies, tactics, and tools that we'd use are very, very tailored around what that person's actual sort of issues are, for want of a better word, and what their goals are. Just what they're presenting with, what they've tried so far. So there's quite a lot of factors that go into the exact method we'd pick. But I just kind of wanted to run you through some of the, I guess, core themes that we might go through. One more thing to add is, this is something that we all go through. Like, don't feel shit. Like, I've literally gone through it in the last few weeks where I'd been traveling and then getting back into England. I couldn't quite find my mojo again. If I ever had a mojo, who knows? But I found it really difficult to start making my own food again because I was always socializing, meeting people, training went out the window. I'm only saying that just to make you feel like, you're not weird if you're going through a slump. It's not an issue of being like ill-disciplined or weak or anything like that. So don't have any stigma around it. It is something that we all go through, and I can very much relate to that. So the first thing that I would start by doing is actually dropping your standard. Now, this is something that has been a lifelong habit of mine, but I'll let you fill in the gaps for that. But it is the concept of whatever like your normal aims are, whatever you think is like normally acceptable or the minimum standards, is just dropping that. So say, for example, normally you wanted to hit 10,000 steps, say. Let's just use that as a random example. So in this case, you just maybe adjust your aim to be like 7,000 steps. If you wanted to train 5 days a week normally, you'd only try and hit 2 sessions. And the point of this is that you're just creating some momentum. You are just getting a win on the board so that you can feel good about yourself, build a bit of confidence, and you'll often find that things tend to snowball. And once you do one thing, a lot of other things fall into place. That would definitely be the first area that I'd look at, and perhaps the most important. Area 2, I guess, kind of follows on from that and very much relates to that. But area 2 would be trying to start your day with a win. So this could be literally anything. It could be just getting up and getting outside, just literally walking outside. It could be drinking, I don't know, say you have creatine. It could be just having your creatine or your fish oil or whatever. So from what I'm saying there, you could probably pair it with the shrinking the goals thing. Think something ridiculously easy. But then just try and start your day with a positive habit. And again, this circles back to that idea of building momentum. because often there really is a domino effect with all these kind of behaviors. So I'd definitely encourage you to find something really easy at the start of the day that you can be like, yes, I've ticked something off there. And often later in the day will start falling into place. That's what I find anyway, and it has worked with a lot of my clients. We've had one person recently that would just have, I think it was the fish oil actually. So yeah, all they had to do was literally drink a bit of water with the fish oil. But the point of the story is that it was a very simple behavior for them, but it was just ticking off a win. So they were tracking that on like a habit tracker type thing. And then every day they were just getting one little tick. And then from there, started getting back into exercise, started doing some meal preps again, started picking some more sensible options for their lunches and meals out. And this was all off just this one cornerstone habit. So yeah, like I said, definitely good to pair those two together, starting with a win and picking something really, really easy. Following on from that would be trying to add some accountability. So I've done a whole podcast on this before, so I would definitely encourage you to check that one out. Not just trying to plug my own stuff here. Some of the ways we did discuss through that were writing things down, telling people if you can have like a training partner, and then obviously there is the smash it out of the park option, which is to hire a coach. So not plugging my own service there, but I'm available if you want it. That is really important part of behavior change though, and something that people do tend to miss is the accountability element in that. Yeah, you've got this idea of something you're going to do in your head, but it very much stays an idea. So accountability is really sort of concreting down what your intention is and adding some consequences for not doing it. So if other people know about what you're trying to do, often it makes it a little bit harder to just skip over because you feel like you might be getting judged a little bit. So accountability is a really important part of introducing new behaviors, new habits. And that really is backed up by the literature. So I would encourage you to find ways of getting accountability in there. The final area that I really wanted to discuss today was something that I've spoken about with a client recently, which is called a forcing function. So this is anything that like just forces your hand. So as the name suggests, it forces you to do something. So the example that I use is that if you buy a dog, you can't sign up for a dog, can you? If you buy a dog, then that really does force you to walk more, doesn't it? Because the dog has to be walked, whether you want to do it or not. It's there. Another example, and the one that actually came up with this client, was to sign up for a half marathon because he was trying to get into running, but it just wouldn't quite stick. And by signing up for this marathon, that has really forced his hand to be like, right, shit, I actually do need to get myself sorted here. So forcing functions are a really good one. And that has, he's seen dramatic improvements in a short space of time. So just to run through the list again, we've got dropping your standards, starting the day with an early win, adding accountability, and then trying to introduce some kind of forcing functions. And if you employ any of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, I've just gone through all the numbers there for some reason, not too sure why, but I did it. Let's roll with it. It's going to be one take this, so we're sticking to our guns here. But yeah, those are the 4 areas that I think would really start to move the needle a little bit. And as I said, once you do a few of these things, once you get a win on the board, you will often find that there is a bit of a domino effect, and you really build momentum. So it is just about building momentum initially. And I've said this a few times that often just starting out, there's not going to be much of a noticeable physical benefit for a little while, but the mental benefit, the psychological benefit of creating momentum is huge. So yeah, the first little while very much is just about getting something done, just showing up, and then the physical benefits tend to come later down the track. So I hope you did find some of this episode useful. A few rambles in there, but we're rolling with it. If you could share it with anyone who they might be in a bit of a rut, that'd be great. If you're in a bit of a rut, obviously I hope it has helped you. In hindsight, maybe sharing it with someone's not the best idea. Could be taken a bit offensively, unless they've specifically asked for your help. But yeah, if you could share it on your story, tag me in it, or just tell someone about it, I would really appreciate it. And as always, if you want to ask any questions, got a lot of lines open, but the most common one is Instagram, where my handle is at peak.nutrition.coaching. And you've got me on Facebook, email, blah, blah, blah. They're all great, and I would appreciate any shares. So Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you from another location shortly.